Live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the recap. I'm Michael DeAngelo, joined as always by my colleague, Mr. Big D, Darryl Ortiz. Great to see you, my friend, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Hope you had a day full of stuffing yourself with turkey as I did. I hated myself after, but hey, here we are.
Hey, it's once a year, so I
True,
say enjoy
true.
it. And you know what?
Yeah,
It's the tradition of Thanksgiving. It's turkey,
yeah.
stuffing, and all the fixings. So don't feel bad about it.
I
Well,
don't
this is
feel bad. I
actually our
just hated
first show,
myself. It was
so
terrible.
there you go. I was like, don't worry. For me, I hate myself for 5 minutes and then the feeling passes. But this is our first show. So for those of you who have not joined our show before, obviously you wouldn't be able to. Here on the recap, we give post-match reactions for professional wrestling and pretty much anything that we want to, but mostly for professional wrestling. And speaking of Thanksgiving traditions, Survivor Series 2023 just wrapped up.
Yes.
It's probably about 15, 20 minutes ago at this point.
About.
Just finished. And I'll call it Survivor Series. It's not War Games. It is Survivor Series. I know they've been branding that a couple of years, but it'll always just be Survivor Series to me.
Exactly. For me, it always is. It's a tradition. Always after Thanksgiving, the great 5-on-5, tag match has now just been moved a little, right, to the War Games ambiance there, if I must say. But it makes for a much more entertaining show, I feel.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting. So we'll start there, Big D. Overall impressions of Survivor Series 2023. Obviously, we had the two War Games matches. We had the women's title match with Rhea Ripley. Spoiler alert, we'll be talking about all this. Ripley retained her women's title. Gunther retained his Intercontinental title against The Miz. I'll toss it to you. What are your overall thoughts?
Overall, I thought it was a pretty fun show to watch. Maybe not necessarily the best card. I feel that there is some room for improvement there. We can get into that a little bit later as well. But overall, I enjoyed the show. I was thoroughly what do they call it? Sports entertained. So I enjoyed it.
There you go.
It's just some things I guess in the storytelling kind of made me feel that many different matches could have gone different ways, but I think they kept it very simple, to the point, concise, a 3-hour show, which is nice. Nothing too drawn out or long. I don't feel any of the matches felt drawn out. So I think that's a big plus. I think every match felt just about right in terms of timing. And then as far as the titles, again, typical what we would expect, a lot of retaining, not really any title changing hands, which is odd because usually that's where you'd want them to change hands. When you see a title opportunity on Raw or SmackDown, you're not necessarily going to see a title change. And so you'd expect it for like the pay-per-view, or should I say premium live event, right? I think there could have been an opportunity here for at least one of the titles to change hands, but they didn't. So what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar. So I thought I liked the fact that it was a 3-hour show. So 2 hours and like 45 minutes, obviously. We'll talk about the end later, but I was like, hey, they wrapped a show early, which seems strange. I thought it was good. The War Games, like, I don't know. The format of that match, I feel like we'll get into that. I feel like there's some opportunities with the format there because the War Games matches did obviously go on, I think, 45 minutes each. Both the men's and the women's match was 45 minutes. And so then everyone else, you're trying to pack all those other matches into the rest of the show, where, almost 2/3 of the show is being taken up by the War Games matches. So, I think all in all, it was entertaining though. So I will say I was very, very entertained throughout, which I will say, let's start with our match of the night. What do you think of all the matches? And it wasn't a large card. There weren't a ton of matches. It wasn't like a 6-hour WrestleMania. So what in your mind was the best match of the night?
Out of the 5,
I was like, it's gotten too much. It's too long.
I think out of the 5, I preferred the men's War Games match. I felt that was the match of the night. I think the crowd was really into it. One of the things I noted was, and again, I'm probably not the favorite for saying this, but I love the heat that Dom gets. I love, and I love that he just accepts it, and then he just rides with it. So the pops that we got throughout the match, I think, were great. The spots were amazing. So to me, that was my match of the night.
Yeah, and it's I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction. For
Mhm.
me, my match of the night was probably Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark.
That was my second
And
place.
it was,
Mhm.
yeah, I think overall with the storytelling, and this is when I was watching it, I was like, and I think this is what was lacking in the Gunther the Miz matchup because they were both title matches.
Mhm.
Zoe started off real hot and
Yeah.
was like kind of taking it to the champ. And it was very back and forth. It kind of switched to Rhea Ripley where she really put it on. She was dominating kind of in the mid
Right.
part of the match. Zoe is a fantastic athlete, and they both are. So
Mhm.
all the spots look good. It's high energy, high pace throughout, good pacing consistently throughout that match. And then there were times where I think initially heading into, I was like, "There's no way she's going to beat Rhea Ripley." But there were moments during the match where I was like, "Hey, they might actually
Mhm.
do something here." Like she's a good enough athlete that I kind of tricked myself into thinking there's a chance, which that never happened really for me during the Miz and the Gunther match.
Mhm.
But for me, that was the match of the night. I don't think there wasn't one that was like head and shoulders above the rest.
Mhm.
There were some duds of the night. I guess what was your dud of the night? We'll put it that way.
As much as it pains me to say it because of how I feel about lucha libre, the Dragon Lee
Yeah.
Santos Escobar match, I felt left a lot to be had, right? They left a lot on the table. There's a lot of missed opportunities there. Both men, if you see them individually, highly
Mhm.
talented. Both men can fly, both men can move. I mean, you saw, what was it? I think during the match, there was a great spot where he did, I think off the ropes, he ran off the ropes
Yeah.
to do like a Hurricane Rana off of the apron or whatever. And again, great athleticism. They just didn't let them open it up. And I don't know if that was like a timing issue because they had to
That's what
keep
I think
time.
it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could have done so much more with that match. I mean, we can get into that here in a sec, but I was so disappointed. I was looking. I think it's mainly because I was looking forward to that match so much as a huge fan of lucha libre, especially out here. Right, it's
Mhm.
all we have in lucha libre, and we see so much great talent, and we're the home of Eddie Guerrero. So it's like you expect some high quality lucha libre, and it left a lot on the table. It wasn't a bad match, but I just feel like it just left a lot.
Yeah, and it wasn't my dud of the night, but I get what you're saying because that was one that I thought, hey, this is going to be the match of the night. I was
Yeah,
really
that's what I
excited
thought.
about seeing it, and
Hmm.
I was just like, and I felt like it was a timing issue. It was a short
Hmm.
match. Like it was probably the
Hmm.
shortest match of the night,
Yeah.
and it was kind of right there in the middle of the show. And I don't think they gave them a lot of time to work. And so I feel like I'll call that like the missed opportunity of the night because I know we're going to be
Hmm.
talking about that. I think they should have worked in a way to give them more time to showcase both of them because they're
Hmm.
they're both great athletes.
Hmm.
I just feel like it was like, hey, we're running out of time. We're running long on some of these matches, and that was the one that was going to be the odd one out, no matter what.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
my dud of the night, though, I will say, and this is going to be the unpopular thing, is both War Games matches. So I'll explain. So they were entertaining matches. Let me start off by saying that both matches were
Hmm.
entertaining. Both matches were like spot fests, and they have
Yeah.
the women's match where what Sky did the whole get in the trash can and jump off the
Hmm.
top.
From NXT when
Um,
she did it with NXT, that was a good callback.
yeah, I mean, like they
Hmm.
they had a lot of cool in both the men's and the women's matches. They had a lot of cool
Yeah,
spots. You had Randy Orton catching the guy with the RKO,
that was
and
beautiful.
it was a fun match to watch.
Hmm.
However, they just felt inconsequential. Like both the first match for the women's war game match. So I kind of always looked at it as it's Bianca Belair's team, but
Hmm.
she kind of was like an afterthought. It turned it into like
Hmm.
Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch got the pinfall.
Hmm.
Uh, it felt like, okay, you're squashing Damage Control, who they've built up into this heel faction, and now you're just going to bring out the greatest hits, and they're going to beat them all up and just kind of crush them. It felt very much like John Cena going out and like burying people. It was. I was just like, okay, they're fun, but all you did was set back Damage Control. Like Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, they don't need an additional rub. Like they're already doing well. So
Right.
and that's where I wonder, like, what are you going to do now moving forward with them? Because you had them get beat.
Hmm.
So it was just like underwhelming with the result. and I wasn't like thrilled of Becky Lynch always wins. In the men's match, the Heroes team with Cody Rhodes, actually, since it was Cody Rhodes' team, Cody Rhodes getting the Crossroads and getting the pinfall made sense. But it was just, afterwards, I'm like, where do you go with this? Like, it just felt like, we've wrapped up all these stories. That's it. Like, there's nothing, there's no fallout from it. And also, I will say it's the, which I was laughing about because they had that strip of diamond plate that's running between the rings, and I was like, oh, there's a new hardest part of the ring. Like, we always joke around about the ring apron is the hardest part. That's the most dangerous part. Now it's that strip of that strip of metal of the diamond plate that's running across. That's now the most dangerous part of the ring. So, it's very gimmicky because it's supposed to be. It's a gimmicky match, and it's supposed to be fun. I think it suffered. Now the crowd was really into the women's match, and that was, I think, just because it was the first match of the night. The crowd was hot, and they were just going crazy and doing this is awesome chance. Yeah, and they're in Chicago, and it's a wild bunch, and they were really ready to go. So I think that helped the women's War Games match. I don't like the timing of the match. Doesn't like you got 5 minutes to come out, then it's 3 minutes after that. Then once everyone's got in, then the match starts. So it's like you're at like 23 minutes and nothing consequential has happened because the match hasn't started. Like, people are just beating each other up. And so that's where I was like, and those 3 minutes, like the first 5 minutes, they put the best athletes in there. And because I think it was Finn Balor and Seth Rollins started for the men's match. And then Becky Lynch and Bayley started for the women's match. So it's like, the first two, they're going to wrestle for 5 minutes, but they can't pin each other. They can't submit each other. Like, Bayley climbed up on the cage at one point when there was just 3 of them in there. And I was like, where's she going? Like, she can't climb out of the cage. Like the stuff doesn't make sense because nobody can win. So, and it's not like at the Royal Rumble, where in the Royal Rumble, everyone has to get into the match, but there's still consequences. You can get eliminated like before the match. Right. So everything that's happening through the course of all the entrants running down, people are getting eliminated. This one, it kind of feels like everyone's stuck. There was a point where during the women's match where everyone was like laying like flat on the ground. There was like three girls laying on their backs and like just unconscious. They look like they were in a morgue. And I was like, okay, are they supposed to be dead? Like I know there's like, hey, there's nothing to do. We got to get out of the way, and we're trapped in here, so we can't. It's not like they can follow the outside of the ring and hide. Yeah. So it's like. Who was it? Shotzi. Shotzi was like laying like completely flat, like staring up at the. Shotzi felt like the odd person out in the women's match too.
She did. Even in her promos.
Every time I'm like, Shotzi got the face full of mist. She got. I half expected when they pulled the table, I was like, oh, they're going to put Shotzi through the table. They threw the pile of chairs on top of her, and I was like, she's literally being buried by chairs in the match. So she felt like out of place, but I think it's just the pacing. It's the pacing and the fact that you go so long and then they ring the bell and it's like, oh, this event's been going on for 30 minutes and now it matters. So
now we start the match.
Now we start the match, and I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's kind of how I felt after both of them. Not that I wasn't entertained.
I mean, no, and I can see that. I get your point, and I think. For the women's match, I don't feel there were really like any big high stakes, right? Like, other than just, tying up their storylines, so to speak. But even then, there's still some stuff left undone. Of course, like the Becky and Charlotte, how long will that last? They played the whole, how will they get along? But for the men's one, I feel that I enjoyed the spots, and I get what you're saying in the sense that it's Cody's dad, Dusty Rhodes, created War Games. How is he going to lose his first time in War Games? So I kind of expected that, and I think maybe that's why I put it as the match of the night, because I accepted that, right? I'm like, okay, he's gonna win. He's gonna get the pinfall. It's his dad's match. Yeah, Vince is, or not, it's Triple H trying to kiss his butt, whatever, and suck up and say, okay, you're back. Thank you. Here you go. You can do your dad's. Because I know when he took over AEW, he was trying to buy War Games from Vince, and they were not budging on it. So it was a big dispute, and he was trying to get the rights to War Games, and they would not budge on that. So his first match, it had to happen. So I could see that. But I get why you're saying that. I get that. Well, so I guess,
and there were fun matches. They made sense. It just feels like hey, everybody's playing in this. It's like you're taking all your action figures and you slam them together, and there's no story
for about 30 minutes, and
like
then it's time for a match.
for about 30 minutes, and then you go, okay, now the match has started. Now the match has started. So that was where I was like, you know, a
I
little
liked
bit of
how
the
I liked
shock
how
of the
all the
night.
SmackDowns. I'm sorry, I liked how all the
Yeah.
SmackDowns and Raws leading up to it, they went over the rules like I don't know how many times, just so you know the rules of the War Games, and I'm like, because they're so convoluted,
Oh, I know.
they're so complex, not complex,
They,
it's just so
that's what I
many
was like,
of
why
them.
is it 5 minutes and then 3 minutes? I was like, just make it
I-
3 minutes. Like first it's
Yeah.
5 minutes, then after that it changes to 3 minutes. Like, you know what? Do 60 seconds. That was the first thing I was like, just make it like Fast and Furious. 1 minute, boom, run out there, match starts, or maybe do 2 minutes for the first one, and then every 60 seconds somebody runs in, and it's fast and
Yeah.
furious, and it feels like the pacing's good because it was literally, hey, let's stall for time. Like there were so many
There was
points you
a
could
lot
tell
of
they were just
stalls.
stalling for time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, it just it felt a little disjointed. Like the flow of the
Yeah.
matches didn't feel awesome.
I could see that.
Until everybody got in there and they officially started it.
Yeah.
Shock of the night. What was your shock of the night?
I know it's gonna sound real gimmicky, but it was the CM Punk return at the end.
Oh, CM Punk
It
walkout.
didn't dawn on me. It didn't dawn on me when the men's match ended that there was still about like 15 minutes left in the runtime. It didn't dawn on me. I was watching it and I was happy with the match the way it ended. I like how, you know, the whole uncertainty with Randy Orton was like messing with them about like, is he gonna show up? Is he not? And then when they did he didn't come out when the timer ran out, and then Rhea came out with the
Yeah.
briefcase. I thought to myself, oh, well, there's the cash in because Seth just went through the table. They hinted to the plan throughout the whole night. Like, I get it. I'm like, okay, cool. That's what's going to happen then. And now that's going to set up Seth being mad at, you know, Cody. Like, I trusted you. What the hell, whatever. Right. So now Randy Orton comes out and you're like, oh crap, he is here. Cool. Awesome. And he does amazing. He does Randy things. I mean, it's
He
Randy
looked
Orton,
great.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he looked amazing. He always does. He always looks amazing.
Yeah.
He does great. And because
He
he
was in
takes
great
it so
shape
serious. Yeah.
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 Looked really
he takes
good.
it so serious and he just does it. So, so that I was like, okay, cool. That's it. That was it then. And then, I know I have the CM Punk chants, but they're in Chicago. They always chant for CM Punk. And I remember one time
Yeah.
that they were chanting CM Punk. Who was it? It was Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman trolled the audience by running his song and then coming out to it just to mess with the Chicago crowd for heat. And I was like, that's so funny, that's so clever, because he, you know, the beef that he's always had with WWE. And so it didn't dawn on me. So then when the music hit, I was seriously just finishing up my notes. I was like, all right, I was about to come upstairs. I was like, all right, I'm done. I was about to turn it off because I was like, oh, we're done. Then CM Punk, they hear that scratch, you know, Cult of Personality starts playing, and I'm like, no way. You know, and I'm like, no.
See,
I'm always like, what? And I'm like, no.
I saw the time and I was like, oh,
I didn't pay
WWE
attention
finished
to the
early
time.
today. I was like,
No.
15 minutes early? That's not like them at all. So I left the TV on because I was like, something's going to happen.
Something's
And
gonna
at first
happen.
I thought,
Randy's gonna RKO everybody.
is Randy gonna like turn on Cody? Like I was like, something's gonna happen. Like, and then they kept doing the whole like hugging each other and everyone's putting their arms up. I was like, okay, no, they're all friends. But I was like,
Yeah.
something's gonna happen. And then when he came, the music hit, I was like, ugh. And I, you know, I'm kind of done with CM Punk at this point. Like, here's the reality: he's not in great shape.
No.
I couldn't tell from when he walked out what he looks like now. When he was in AEW, he looked physically terrible.
He did.
I think he's fine on the mic, but
Yeah.
I don't think he's worth all the trouble. Like I don't understand how he keeps getting hired. I feel like if I did half the things that CM Punk did, I would be out of a job. But he keeps getting picked up, and I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just the namesake, right, that he's built for himself, and that he's CM Punk. You know, that's pretty much it. Like the whole, you know, I remember watching him when he came out in AEW, and his first attempt at a GTS, I was like, oh, that's a little sloppy. I'm like, well, I mean, he's been out of action for a while and whatever, you know. But I mean, I don't know what they have planned for him. Well, I kind of have an idea, which we'll get to. We'll get to next here in a bit. But I feel that, you know, I think they just do it really more for the ticket sales, the pop. I'm hoping, the fan in me is hoping that he's coming in to give a rub on somebody else up and coming. Maybe behind the scenes he's helping out. I don't see it because I don't see it because it's CM Punk we're talking about here. But
yeah, that's why I was like, come on now, you're giving him way too much credit here.
Or
I have
my
no
biggest
faith
dream
he's
will
gonna
come
be doing a solid for anybody.
Or my biggest dream would come true in that he brings AJ with him. That's always been
I don't
Dream of mine, AJ. I would love to see AJ back.
Say it's been like how long has it been since AJ's been in the WWE? Like 15
oh my god,
years.
it's been forever. Yeah, it's been forever.
Been I
don't know what she looks like now because she stays away from the media and stuff. But that would be. I think that'd be kind of awesome. Oh, I'm sure she looks amazing still. But that's just me being biased.
But I'm just, I don't. I'm just kind of at the point. I was never a huge CM Punk fan. Like I really wasn't, like, from the beginning. And I just feel like he's continually wore his welcome out. And it's like, do we really need to keep going down this path? Yeah. And I don't know that he really moves, unless you're in Chicago. I don't know that he really moves the needle that much in terms of ticket sales. So,
I think it depends.
But hey, you know what? If Triple H wants to pay him, that's totally fine. It's their money. They can do that. Yeah. I wouldn't do it, but hey, I don't have that level of success. So,
well, what's your shock of the night?
Shock of the night. I mean, not CM Punk, because I kind of saw, I was like, something's going to happen. I really feel like Damage Control, if there is a shock, it was Damage Control losing, because I felt like they had built them up and they did that whole flip with Asuka joining the team. And it was like, let the heel stand tall. Right. And when it just kind of old hat now, it's like, you squashed him. So I was surprised by that. Like, I genuinely thought, hey, you know what? Let them continue to build momentum. Let them pick up a win over that team. Obviously that's the stacked team. So let them go out there and beat all the veterans. But I don't know. For me, I was surprised that they didn't continue with that, because it does feel like, well, what do you do now? For me, if I felt like they're probably one of the better heel stables. And now do you just start doing the infighting thing and break the group up? But I don't know. That was my shock of the night.
I can see that, because I mean, especially with EO being the champ, you don't want the champ's team to lose, because that kind of make her look a little weak or something, But she didn't take the pinfall, so I guess that's how they saved her.
Yeah. Well, but I'm also like, Becky Lynch gets the pinfall, which is, again, she doesn't need anything else. Like, if you're gonna do that, like, let Bianca Belair get the pinfall. Like, let somebody else do it. They weren't gonna let Shotzi. They weren't gonna let Shotzi. I was like, Shotzi was just there to be cannon fodder for everybody. It's like, she's constantly getting knocked down, chairs piled on top of her, spit in the face, and then she was like laying prone most of the match. Like, most of the match, she was on her back, like, unconscious. It really felt like, hey, we need an extra person that we can just kind of throw around. And she got her spots in. She got a couple of spots in, so it wasn't a total loss, but she just felt so out of place in that match. But
she kind of did, even when they did their promos. Yeah, even when they did their promos the night before, it was kind of like odd. She was just like this crazy laugh and maniacal grinning, and that she's crazy.
Well, Shotzi feels like, and the first thing I thought when I saw her was, I was like, she's like Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, if you got her on Wish. So it's like the Wish version of Rhea Ripley, because,
which is a bummer,
she's
because
doing like
I followed
the whole.
Her. Yeah. I mean, I followed her in NXT, and I love the way she was in NXT. Like, she wasn't like that, and I feel that obviously it's a creative direction, right? That they're pushing her because of the haircut and the way they have her do her hair. Because, spoiler for those who don't know, wrestlers or sports entertainers do not get a say on how they look. And so, it's tough, right? Because I feel like they don't know what to do with her in her regular form. Yeah. So they give her like this crazy persona, which of course she's running with it, right? She's doing what she can and with what she's got. Yeah. And I applaud her for that, definitely. But it's a bummer, because rather than let her develop and maybe let her take a little bit of the shine off of this War Games match, because this was her second War Games match. She's been in War Games before. They never acknowledged that. So, or at least I didn't hear it, right? But I just, so
yeah, I'm trying to think if Michael Cole mentioned it at some point. He might have, but it's still, you wouldn't have known it. I mean, unless somebody had mentioned it. Right. She just felt so out of place, and she didn't look like she was a threat to anybody. She really did look like Rhea Ripley light when I saw her. I was like, oh, she kind of like, she's like a less threatening, kind of goofy version of Rhea Ripley, and and that's a shame because I know she's got a lot of talent, but
Yeah.
it's just I don't think this gimmick is working for her. Missed opportunities. I think I kind of touched on my missed opportunity would be Damage Control winning. We kind of touched on that already.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, for me, it goes back to the Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar match. I feel that if they were short on time, let them go all out, right? Let them put the gas pedal down and just go crazy with what their spot, because that had the potential to be a big spot fest for both athletes. And then the way you let Santos go over is then again, I guess now that I'm talking it out, it might hinder him, I guess, but a reuniting of the Legado de Fantasma, right? Like the trio he was, you know, I know he turned on them. I know he, when he left LWO and all that stuff, but it would have been nice to see him, have one of them come out in his favor, or maybe have a spot where like Carlito comes out to like interfere, and here comes everybody, all of LWO with him, and then his old teammates join him.
I was surprised that we didn't see anybody else.
Yeah, that, and then another one that I had two, actually. So the second one that I had was on the Gunther and Miz match. So to me, if you're, because they kept, so part of me thought they were going to let Miz win this because they talked about how if he wins, he'll be tied with Chris Jericho for most Intercontinental title wins. And I feel that if they do that, it would be in spite of Chris Jericho. I actually wrote it in my notes that they mentioned that, it was just awkwardly just plugged in there. And I'm like, it's almost like they're trying to insinuate like, hey, if he wins, he's going to tie Chris Jericho. And that's what I thought they were going to do. But I was like, how are they going to do it? Because there's no way, in my eyes, you can let Miz take out Gunther, like on his own. So I thought the missed opportunity there was the eventual turn of Ludwig on his old Imperium faction. They come out to like, for whatever reason, because they just do. And instead of helping out Gunther, he sabotages it so that could set up a program between him and Gunther and the inner turmoil between, because now he's not the leader or not in charge or whatever they said, because Gunther's the leader, but he puts him in charge, one in charge of the other, which is odd. But I feel like the way they've been building it, this would have been a good blow off, because now you have something for Raw and SmackDown going forward, right? Because now it's like he doesn't have a title anymore, and now he has to like deal with his internal, blow up, right, or implosion that he needs to fix.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out, and that's where I go. Where do you even go from here at this point? Like, okay, you wrap that Miz storyline pretty quickly. Miz did everything that he could, and he the two low blows in the skull crushing finale got kicked out. The other thing, I'm like, stop kicking out of finishers, because Gunther got his powerbomb kicked out of. That was a bummer, because I'm like, why are you gonna have the Miz kick out? If the Miz isn't gonna win, don't have him ruin that finisher. They gotta protect the finishers better. Because they both kicked out of each other's finishers in that one. But I'm like, they've kind of backed themselves into a corner of where do you go from here with Gunther?
And then winning with the Lion Tamer?
Does he just relinquish the title? Is he like, I'm so good, I'm relinquishing the title, and I'm taking a run at Roman Reigns? Like, what do you do with him? Like at this point? Because
don't get me wrong, it was
they don't seem to have an out.
Right, and don't get me wrong, it was a nice touch to let Gunther win with the Lion Tamer, because again, the whole Chris Jericho callback that they did, that was cool. He did the Boston Crab, he couldn't because of his knee. So what does he do? Puts the knee in the back, and now you got the Lion Tamer. They didn't call it that. They could have. They should have.
Well,
it's the walls.
They're like,
Jericho,
it's a modified Boston Crab.
Yeah, modified Boston Crab. We all know that's the walls or Lion Tamer for the old school folks.
Yeah,
but
and I thought I was like, oh, first he's doing a Boston Crab. I'm like, oh yeah, he's kind of doing like walls of Jericho. But yeah, they're apparently taking a lot of shots at Chris Jericho tonight.
They did. Interesting.
Yeah. Hey, it's their prerogative. All right. Anything that you expect to see on Raw?
So I would say, well, Raw or SmackDown, I feel CM Punk obviously is going to come out and talk, right? But I feel his target is going to be Seth, because he's CM Punk. He's going to come in right off the gate and he wants a title shot. So it's going to be Seth Rollins, only because I don't see them letting him end Roman's streak. There's no way that CM Punk is going to end him. No way.
I hope not. But you know what?
We
that would
riot
be
if they
hilarious.
do.
Though. If CM Punk comes back and then ends the streak for Roman Reigns and he's the one to do it, I'd be like, okay, I'm officially
And then
done.
drops it. And then
AEW
drops
all
it
the
at
way,
Royal
baby.
Rumble.
That's it.
Then drops it at the Rumble.
Yeah.
Oh my
He'll drop it
god.
the Rumble to like Goldberg. They'll bring like Goldberg back for like one more run, and
Yeah.
and he'll come out and squash him. I'm like, I don't know. And
I hope not.
But I think you're right. I think that's where the next thing is going to be. It's all going to be CM Punk. It's going to be him making a title run.
Yeah.
Because they just kind of ended all the storylines. Basically, it's like, oh, we wrapped
They
all these
did,
storylines.
except for the Randy Orton and Jey Uso. Because Randy Orton doesn't forget. That's how he is. That's what he did with Bray a long time ago.
Unless he's the new Randy Orton. He's the new reformed Randy Orton. It's super nice. He seemed awfully nice tonight. I got to tell you. I was half expecting him to do something at the end, and I was like, oh, they're old pals. Cool. Right on.
Or they were just stalling for time. But the other one too, I see coming
or
up.
they were like, we don't have time. CM Punk's got to walk out. We got to get out of here. Just throw your hands up and walk away. Shake hands and walk away.
Make room for him. But no, I think the other thing that we're going to see, sorry, I keep reading my notes here. The other thing I think we might see coming up is the Damage Control turn on Bayley. I think that they've been kind of hinting to that because she's had to prove herself that she has to belong in her own faction. I'm like, that's your faction. You started it with Dakota Kai. And now they're like, Dakota Kai is the leader. I'm like, since when? Bayley started it, but I think that's what they're kind of leaning towards. I feel that a turn on Damage Control on Bayley is probably what's in coming up here in the weeds, so to speak, or upcoming, because again, she put together the match. She went in first and she still cost them the match. She's trying to overcompensate. She took the spear from, Charlotte to try and save her friend. But at the end of the day, they're going to see it as, hey, we're all champions here. Like, you haven't been a champion in forever. I feel that that's coming. I just feel that that's coming up.
Okay.
The other piece I see is
that makes logical sense. I agree.
Yeah. And I think the other piece I see too is the eventual, we're already at the end of the year, the cash in for Damian Priest. That should be inevitable. I think that's going to be happening by the next pay-per-view, because each time they do it, it's like getting closer and closer to him actually being successful. Like, this was probably the closest he's been since he got the Money in the Bank briefcase. So I feel that it's just that much more. And he's gonna be, I think he's gonna have a successful retain. They just want a successful cash in. They just want to kind of tease a little bit more, but I have a feeling it's going to happen. And if it does, I'm going to call it now, since this is going to be out in the interwebs. My call is going to be that if there is a match between CM Punk and Seth Rollins for the title, I feel that Damian Priest is going to come in at the end and take that title from whoever gets it. That would probably be the only way you can let CM Punk win. And then he'll drop it right after, because he'll be so gassed after going up against Seth Rollins. Because Seth Rollins, I mean, that's, what do they call him? The Rambo Jesus, CrossFit Jesus. So, I mean, that man has cardio like nobody's business. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that might happen. So, I mean, not too soon, but I think that's probably what's going to be coming up eventually between them.
All right. Well, you heard it here first on the recap. Big D with the prediction. CM Punk going to pick up the title for 10 seconks and then drop it to Damian Priest. But however long it takes him to walk down to the ring with a briefcase, I think there's probably a high degree of likelihood, and I would agree it's going to be CM Punk all the way, and then Damage Control just getting taken apart, because there's nothing to do with that group now except have them fight each other and disband. So unfortunately, because I did like what they were doing.
I do too. That's such a bummer, because now that faction is so stacked, right? I mean, you have some of the best women's wrestlers, like the actual like technique wrestlers, the high flyers in Kairi Sane and Io Sky. You have Asuka. I mean, I'm glad they got her out of the whole Smiley gimmick, and they brought her back into her old, I forgot what the name of it was. I have to look up my notes from back in the day, but they brought back her old gimmick from back in her independent days and her Japan wrestling days. And I thought that's freaking awesome. That's where the face paint comes from and the mist and everything. Yeah. I love her as this aggressive Asuka. I don't like the goofy, smiling, dancing one. I like this one where she's more cynical. She's more maniacal. She's going to hurt you. Like, you believe it. You're like, damn.
Yeah, she's a better heel, I think.
Oh, yeah. All the way.
Agreed.
And so And
Agreed.
now I think the last piece that I wanted to touch on that they're going to do is there was, I don't know if he's caught it, but like right after right in the pre-show towards the end when they were talking, before they talked about the men's war game, there was like this long little spot that they put in for Roman Reigns and his title run and how long it's been. And I have a feeling that
I think I missed that one actually.
yeah, it was right before they talked about the men's war games match. So I have a feeling that they know who they want against Roman, and I feel it's gonna be Cody. I have a feeling Cody's gonna move over because
CM Punk.
yeah, well,
There
because
it goes. CM Punk,
no.
baby.
God, no, I don't want that. I was no.
CM
But,
Punk
I mean-
ends the streak.
I mean, yeah, no. But I think I think that Cody's gonna move over because I'm so tired of them. I think they need to let Jey Uso kind of run with it on the solo tip, do his thing. They took him out of a tag team and then put him in a tag team and then made him tag team champs with somebody else. And I'm like, your main event, Jey, like I feel he'd be a lot better off going at the Intercontinental title. I think he'd be a good match for Gunther because he is everything that Gunther hates about modern wrestling. That's not sacred to that's it's being sacred, and you're just doing all this flying around and dancing and yelling yeet and all that stuff, right? But I think that's where Jey should go. So then that should free up Cody to move over to SmackDown and challenge Roman and have that match that they truly never really had like a full go at. They had a match, and they I know they had their match or whatever, but I feel like a good run with it I think would be nice. A nice build up. Maybe take them to Mania, make it a WrestleMania match, and that's where maybe the streak ends.
I think that would be cool. I don't know that they would have Cody in the streak. I don't know. There's just something to me that feels like they wouldn't really perceive him as being like a threat to Roman Reigns, which is why I feel like, hey, have Gunther just retire the Intercontinental title, and just be like, hey, I'm relinquishing it. And have him, since they've built him up into like this mega heel that's like smashes everybody, have him go up against Roman Reigns.
That would be a great match.
Have him in the streak. Like you've created this like aura of invincibility with this guy, and why not just say, hey, streak versus streak. He's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion versus Roman Reigns streak right now.
Right.
Do something like I mean, for me, it feels like he's more of a legitimate threat. I don't know why. I feel like they don't see Cody as a threat to Roman Reigns.
They don't, but I think
I could be.
They don't. But as a wrestler, he can hang with Roman, and they can put on a good match.
He totally can
because they can carry each other when they're both tired, right? Gunther, I think, is a great alternative if they have him do that, right? Have him just say, you know what, I'm done. I've proven nobody else can handle me. So I'm going to move on to bigger and brighter things and then show up at SmackDown and challenge Roman. And I think that'd be great because the play you can do off of it is Gunther's always won, as far as I know, he's always won clean. And Roman's always had help.
Yeah.
So he can pull that, I've never needed Imperium to help. I think he did maybe a few times, not as much as Roman. But he does it enough to like today he came out.
Roman has a lot of intervention.
Yeah, but like tonight he came out by himself. He came out by himself and he handled business by himself. So I mean, I would love to see Gunther and Roman. That'd be a great match. But I don't know.
See, I'd love to see it. That's not going to happen in a million years.
Because we said
why it's going to be. It's going to be CM Punk, baby. We say, hey, this would be really great, and it would be really great. And then what will really happen is you'll have CM Punk reinstitute the Straight Edge Society, and then they'll all gang up and beat Roman Reigns.
Recruit Jey
and that'll be
from the inside.
Like, really? That'd be hilarious. Like Jimmy's part of the Straight Edge Society, and you're like, what? Like they'll do some crap like that, and it'll be terrible.
It's been Solo the whole time,
but yeah.
Oh my word, no.
Well, and with that, Survivor Series 2023 is in the books. Good show. I give it a B+. I'm gonna give it an A. I'm gonna give it a B+. I think it was good overall, entertaining. What's your grade on the show?
I'm actually about there. I'm about a B+, only because I probably go B just because I feel that they left a lot with the Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar. And I know people are probably thinking like, well, that's a mid-card match. I mean, hey, those two are amazing athletes. Look them up. Look up their work before when Santos Escobar was still masked, as Hijo de Fantasma. They put on amazing matches. So when I heard those two going at it, I was over the moon because I was like, this is the match I'm looking forward to the most. And I was let down a little. They still hit some good spots, and he toyed with the whole mask thing, but again, no, I feel like luchadores and lucha libre deserves a good spot in professional wrestling nowadays.
Yeah. Agreed. So we gave it B's overall across the board. And that is it for us on the recap. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you all next time. Take care and have a great day.
See ya.